and forth with Lori, but she has been our law librarian for over 6 years now, and is working with her staff to bring us back on board with the public. It's been a difficult period of time for everybody in every organization, but Lori has been working very hard to make resources available via our website. And we would welcome any information from Vivilan as time goes on about your activities. And by the way, I was very impressed with the computer classes for seniors. I happened to go through the website recently. And ironically, you're very topical. I believe we had an 84-year-old on the front page of the Marin IJ who could not afford a computer and doesn't know how to use one, and was profiled in her efforts to try and get a vaccine. Yeah. So you folks are doing very, very compelling work right now.
Thank you.
If we should get started, hopefully other people will join us. First off, we'd very much like to welcome Ann Gray, who was most warm and welcoming and took a call from me over a month ago. She referenced the work that Joanne Halliday was working and that she wanted to invite her along. And as we all know, Vivalon is a new name for a really amazing older program. This organization started way back in 1954 as a grassroots community group here in Marin County. I believe the name back then was Marin Senior Coordinating Council, and it was largely a charitable, senior-focused organization at a time when there were not a lot of these around. Stop and think about that. If this started in 1954, you're about 67, and you don't look it. It's pretty exciting to think about the fact that way back in 1968, and it would be interesting to compare even what kind of bus services we had through Golden Gate Transit back then. The first ride services began with one vehicle in your organization. And I think to date you've actually done something close to 300,000 rides annually. That's pretty extraordinary. One of the names that will jump out at everybody is Meals on Wheels. There are a few things that I think you have not been involved in with both seniors, their families, and the disabled. And we're very welcoming. We're very glad to welcome you here tonight and to learn more about you. The reason we started programs like this was during Lori's tenure, we initiated, with the help of the Bar Association, Lawyers in the Library. One of the most compelling things to come out of that are the stories that we hear from people about what their needs are. And they're not always the most obvious needs. And especially as we moved into the pandemic, it became very clear that one of the things that we could hopefully successfully do, even if we were closed physically, was to host events like this and be a conduit from organizations like yours to the greater community. I'd like to reassure you to let you know that we've had interest from a variety of groups who would like to borrow these type of interviews and offer them to the greater community. So while I cannot promise you we will have 50 people here tonight, it is entirely possible that people will be coming to the website and watching this, and then it will be made available to you. What we hope is that as we enter our second year, we not only have issues like community resources, but we learn to help our clients become your clients and to better negotiate, especially in difficult times. And COVID has been very, very difficult. Resources we would normally turn to have not been available, or they've been in short supply. That's why we're so delighted to have you here. I'd like to take a moment to mention to you that we would be delighted to do a little bit more advertising with you about our Lawyers in the Library program, which occurs every other Thursday. And what I'd propose to you is, I know that you also work with legal aid here, but that you might want to refer some of your folks to our Lawyers in the Library programs. They're very helpful, and Lori puts a lot of work into getting a variety of people to sign up to do this. Before we get started, I'd like to once again welcome a new staff member who's come to work with Lori. Her name is Michelle. She has long been awaited. I don't know if she's joining us tonight, but I want to let her know how delighted we are. I'd like to take a moment to thank Christine, our president, and our vice president, Tracy, for their efforts. And I'd particularly like, as I see him sitting in our audience, to welcome Bill Hale, who is constantly giving us suggestions about how to grow our outreach. So we may be small tonight, but I'll tell you there are a lot of people working to put this together. So at this time, I'd like to turn this over to our friends from Vivalon, formerly known as Whistle Stop. Dynamic program, wonderful people, and we're very glad to have you here tonight.
Great, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for the invitation, and Joanne and I are going to go through the presentation and have plenty of time for questions, and I know this is being recorded, so we will have plenty of time to cover everything that I think we would like to do tonight, which is great. And as you said, you know, Vivalon is an older organization, over 66 years old in our history. And we've always been here for our community and providing services for older adults and people with disabilities. And the magnitude of the need has increased significantly, but the needs essentially are still the same for transportation, nutrition, preventing isolation, and access to resources. And you can go to the next one. And it's really important to start by talking about Vera Schultz. She was known as the First Lady of Marin and was actually the first woman elected to the Marin City Council. And she was a true visionary and really, with a group of very close friends, sparked the idea for the Marin Coordinating Council and successfully advocated for the Older Americans Act in Washington, D.C., which was passed into law in 1965 and signed by President Johnson. So she was really a catalyst for all of the things that helped to have seniors really live with dignity and medical care and resources. But even today, access and availability of those things is very challenging for older adults and people with disabilities. So Vivalon continues today to fill that need, and we are very passionate about more people knowing what we offer so that they can take advantage of that as well. You talked a little bit about our first ride and our first fleet. You can see that up on the upper left is our very first vehicle that we had and provided services with. And then a few years later, we had wheelchair accessible vans, and we're able to help people even greater and get to more people who needed our services. And then you can see our very first fleet as we grew. And today you can see our fleet all around town, getting people where they need to go. And in the lower left, you can see our Meals on Wheels delivery. And the fashion may be a little different, but the idea today is the same as it was then: deliver nutritious meals to people who otherwise wouldn't have access to them. And it's also a very nice social check-in. Sometimes those volunteers who deliver Meals on Wheels are the only people that an older adult might see in a week. And so it's very comforting to know that they have someone looking in on them to help them. And then in the early days, the cocktail parties were all the craze at the Marin Senior Coordinating Council, and very fancy as well. But having the ability for people to socialize and connect is something that we still do today. And then on the right, you can see some of our classes. So things that were happening back then are happening today. And if we go to the present, we really do share a responsibility as a community to ensure that our older adults are able to live in their homes, get the care that they need, and stay connected so they can live a vital, healthy life. Marin's the oldest community in our state, has the oldest population, and we will always be working to ensure that the vitality of our older adults and vulnerable populations and people with disabilities have what they need. The history of life expectancy is going up quite a bit. Even these will probably change slightly due to the significant impact of COVID and deaths on older adults. So this will probably shift as we get more data. But the Buck Institute projects that life expectancy in 2050 will be 88 years old. And then it continues to go up from there. And so the face of older adults is really changing as we look at who we serve. And our vision is for everybody in the last third of their life, as we say sometimes, to live that with dignity, grace, vitality, and all of the things that they deserve at that stage in their life, and really helping people through every stage of life. And you can see again in the USA, people over 85 are growing significantly as well. And so we really want to be a model for other communities and what we're able to offer. An interesting side fact is that 95% of registered voters are over the age of 60 in Marin County. And so I think that that's really interesting as well. Go ahead to the next slide. And this shift in the shift of age in population has really prompted the World Health Organization to recategorize how we think about age. And birth to 17 years is considered underage these days. 18 to 65 years is youth or young people. So we love that category. 66 to 79 is middle-aged, 80 to 99 is elderly, and 100 plus is long-lived elderly. And you may be thinking, this does not make sense. Why would you call someone 65 years old a youth or a young person? And it's because they have the ability to live and have the health of what we would used to consider a young person, somebody maybe under 40 or, I don't remember what the earlier numbers were, but the way that people live has recategorized these ages. So we need to think about age differently and really help people to achieve these goals of living in the middle-aged health category from the time that they are 66 to 79 and be as vital as possible. And again, for the oldest of the old, making sure that they have the care that they need and resources that they need to stay really connected and cared for. As I said before, Marin's the oldest county. We have 53,000 residents over 65, which is 20% of our population, and 31% of those people live alone. And what's really important to note is the majority of these are women, and we think of these older adults in some ways as vulnerable as children and call them elder orphans. They don't have someone looking after them. And it's just very important that we are there for them. So we went about a name change, as you referenced. And when people thought of Whistle Stop, very beloved organization that went through a name change, I believe in September, October of this year. And the reason that came about was because in the community, people really thought of us for transportation and not all of the other services that we offer, which Joanne's going to share in detail. But Vivalon is a created word, and it's vitality and longevity together to create Vivalon. And we really are focused in the future on connection and all the ways that we can provide connection to people for medical care, socialization, nutrition, connecting them to housing, and all of the things that people need to thrive. So. And with that, I'm going to turn it to our wonderful Joanne Halliday to take us through where we're going and some of the other current programs that we offer. So take it away, Joanne.
Thank you very much, Anne. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So I think, everybody on this call is probably well aware of the impact of what's called the social determinants of health on the health outcomes of individuals. And that really motivates so much, if not all of what we do at Vivalon. And, our hub of services that I will tell you more about really addresses many of those social, environmental, and behavioral factors that, as we can see here, account for a large percentage of an individual's health. So here you see just, the full gambit of what we do provide in terms of transportation, meals and nutrition, classes for the socialization that Anne talked about, care and programs that connect people with the help that they need, as well as information and resources. We're particularly proud of just how flexible, dynamic, willing and able the team at Vivalon has been in response to COVID-19. I know that everybody across our community really has changed what they do, turned everything on its head, and driven so much to the most vulnerable residents of our population during that time. And we find it incredibly motivating to be able to do that. In addition to these kind of services like 56,000 rides, 158,000 meals, 500 digital classes, masks, PPE and supplies, etc. We've been able to really spin up new projects, initiative, contracts, work with the county, work with the public health office, and be able to get, a lot of the resources that were coming into the community, we've been able to help identify who needs it most and help get them those resources. So like we were talking about earlier in the intro, our latest venture in conjunction with Marin County Public Health Office is the vaccination call center and hotline for people with difficulty accessing the internet, for seniors or for disabled individuals to get help organizing a vaccine appointment and help with transportation to get to that appointment if they need it. So that's a perfect example where we take the infrastructure that Vivalon is built on, be able to turn around and add something new, different, take it to the next level in response to what has been over the past year, many, many critical, very time urgent needs. So we love to be able to do that and help wherever we can. So I'm just going to tell you a bit more about each of our programs and services, just so that you're aware and you can think how, you can help your clients take advantage of that or help spread the word. As Anne said, transportation is what Whistle Stop has always been most famous for, and Vivalon is more than happy to continue that tradition and take it to the next level. I think we're all most familiar with paratransit. We are very fortunate to run the paratransit kind of Marin access service for Marin Transit, and that really enables anybody who's unable to take regular public transport to get to appointments, classes, etc., anywhere they need to go. That's a large part of what we do, and that's a lot of the buses that you see around Marin County. Our Carepool volunteer driving program has been an absolute asset during COVID, actually. And for the people that wanted to drive, we've been able to keep them driving and riding. And for those that have been sheltering in place, we've been able to pivot to deliveries. Generally speaking, Carepool is most popular for getting people to medical appointments. So it's a critical service. And we've been able to get groceries to people, brown bag pantry to people, prescriptions and errands to people as well. So that's showing great flexibility and ability to reach many more people. We are finding more and more medical rides being covered in medical plans, and that's been a real opportunity for us to do more because we're well positioned as a transportation provider who's highly trusted in the community by residents and has a great reputation for customer service. So We partner with Partnership Health Plan to provide their non-emergency transportation, and that's really for non-ambulatory people to get to partnership health appointments. We also are very fortunate to have contracts with people like Kaiser and Marin Health, Marin Community Clinics, to be able to ensure that as many people as possible get to their appointments, given the impact that that ultimately has on their health outcomes. And we also offer travel navigator service on behalf of Marin Access, and people will call the travel navigators, and they, as a one-stop shop for all the different transportation options available to people in Marin. So they will advise based on their circumstances and refer them to the best service. In addition to these rides, we are also in a great position to have many contract rides, the biggest of which are with the regional centers. So the Golden Gate Regional Center in San Francisco and the North Bay Regional Center, to name two. And during normal times when those centers are bringing their clients in for classes for the day, then we run those rides. And that's been absolutely wonderful to be a backbone of Vivalon. We've been doing the Golden Gate Regional Center transportation for a long time, and just before COVID, we added the North Bay in as well. So we're so looking forward to getting back to that as they start to open the doors and welcome people in. And we also have private contracts, and we're able to offer people like BioMarin, for example, shuttles to and from offices. So really, really strong heritage foundation and infrastructure in transportation that enables us to do a lot of the other programs and services that we provide. The second most notable of those is, as we were saying in the introduction, probably our meals and nutrition services. We are incredibly fortunate to have the Jackson Cafe on site at our Healthy Aging Center, which is at 930 Tamalpais Avenue. And during normal times, that is a total social hub for older adults in San Rafael. And it really is, I think, what brings people, we all know that food is kind of the heart and soul of socialization, and that cafe really is for our Healthy Aging Center too. During COVID, we've been able to pivot to sell to-go meals. So that's been wonderful in terms of being able to continue to provide nutrition at very low price for freshly chef prepared meals. But it's also enabled us to maintain a connection with our kind of most loyal clients who still want a reason to come out and people to see safely outside, obviously, but it's meant that they have something to do, somewhere to go to get their lunch, to bring it home. So we love seeing them at the door of the Healthy Aging Center as we serve our to-go lunches. We've even pivoted that and started to offer delivery. Our wonderful care pool program, the drivers are actually delivering meals to many of our clients who are sheltering in place. So that's been another great example of the flexibility of our programs and how they work together. Vivalon Nourish is essentially Vivalon's version of Meals on Wheels, and it exists to serve the people that Meals on Wheels can't, but that still need access to nutrition and home delivered meals. So it's available to anyone in Marin County with chronic health challenges. And at the moment, we serve about 110 clients on that program, free home delivered meals, up to 7 meals a week, delivered over 3 days by our volunteers and our paid drivers who also deliver Meals on Wheels. So everybody benefits from kind of scaling up that operation. And Meals on Wheels itself, of course, we've had that contract with Marin County to deliver the meals for many, many years, off and on, and since 2012 or so, I think, most recently. And that's for anyone who is 60 plus years or older and is homebound. Vivalon Nourished doesn't actually require you to be homebound. We want to help people who have nutritional challenges. Even if they can leave their home, we will help, because it is difficult for people to leave. It is difficult for them to prepare the right food, and we want to help restore their health and provide the socialization. We also run a weekly brown bag pantry from our Healthy Aging Center. So before COVID, that was somewhere where our older adults in the community and our members would come and fill their own grocery bags in the pantry room. Obviously, like everybody else, we've pivoted that to offer that to go. And of course, a drive-through, which previously people probably wouldn't even have thought of for our clients, but that's hugely popular. So again, Tamalpais Avenue has a long line of cars out on a Friday morning and for it when it starts at 10 a.m. and a long line of people queuing up the back. So that's been very popular and very well tended during COVID and still continues to be so. And then we also partner with the SF Marin Food Bank, A, for the Food for the Brown Bag Pantry, and B, for their community assistance program, where they hand out monthly food boxes every third Wednesday of the month to low-income older adults in Marin County. So that's an absolutely wonderful program to get onto. You know, this is probably an area in which, you know, we've seen the greatest increase in demand during COVID. I think we calculated we served 60% more meals in the second half of last year than we did the same period the year before. So, you know, there's a lot of nutrition need out there. Fortunately, there are a lot of organizations like us really focused on finding those people and finding the right solutions for them. So we work with many, many partners in the community and many food coalitions in order to make that happen as much as possible. Having referred to the Healthy Aging Centre a lot, I can say that, you know, while people were there for lunch in the cafe, they would attend a class before lunch, they would attend a class after, and people would come in, spend time in the activity lounge. We had social groups, we had cultural groups. Now we have online classes like everybody else. We've really, really tried to, you know, get as much of our most beloved classes online. So, you know, our most popular are things like ukulele and bingo and whistle sizers, which is whistle stop chair exercises. We also have language classes. What else do we have? A variety of classes. And as we said in the intro, we've added technology. You know, we've known that's been a need, and we have offered technology classes in the past, but we really decided to offer a nice, robust 8-week kind of session for people at all levels to join from the very beginning or come in, you know, at the level they think appropriate. So that's actually quickly becoming our most well-attended. In its 5th week, I think it will be next week. So that's been an absolute pleasure to see get off the ground. We have plans to increase both the breadth and depth of our kind of classes and activities, particularly with 2 key initiatives. Our Healthy Aging program is intended to really become a multi-session focus on different areas of health that groups of people will come to Vivalon, hopefully in person, but I'm sure we'll have the hybrid option for a long time, if not forever now, and really learn about domains such as sleep and stress management, mental health, physical health, spirituality, life goals, and, you know, create an environment in which they're really learning about factors that can impact their health outcome, but also creating kind of that social opportunity and enabling people to meet others and have fun together. So Healthy Aging program coming soon in 2021. And then beyond that, we are working on Hale's lifelong learning program for Vivalon, which we're very much looking forward to expanding the classes we offer and being able to add to that with maybe semester style classes, maybe in conjunction with local universities, but we're just starting to work on really proposing what the design and implementation of the Hale's lifelong learning program should be for Vivalon. And one call out here, we're always looking for amazing instructors to teach more classes. So if anybody would love to, and if anybody has a friend who would love to, we would love to speak to them, because, you know, that's really what creates, you know, the opportunities for people to join us. And it, you know, there's nothing better than a class run by a passionate instructor. So if you know anybody, we'd love to hear about it. We also offer friendly visitor programs. So in partnership with Covea, we offer Social Call, which generally pairs older adults with a volunteer for weekly phone visits. And then we also partner with LITA, which is Love is the Answer of Marin County, to offer in-person visits. And some of those are actually happening now, socially distanced with masks on, etc. I've heard that a couple of the clients actually go for walks with their volunteer and they conduct their visits that way. So it's nice to have the flexibility to be able to do both. And it's really nice to be able to connect people, especially during this ongoing time of isolation. As I mentioned, our Healthy Aging program will continue to develop and provide even more in terms of our care services. And then, as Anne will talk to slightly later, our Healthy Aging campus will also include an integrative care clinic. So we're really trying to take care and health to the next level and be able to provide as holistic services as possible here. And then, just as we were talking about at the beginning, we do offer referrals. So we have a resource office that would previously have been manned by a volunteer in person for much of the week. Now we man the phone line and pick up messages, and we will always get back to anyone who calls. And they call about anything, whether it's county resources, specialised advice, etc. So we will do our very best to connect anybody with anything that they ask us for. We're also quite famous for what was our whistle-stop directory of services for older adults in Marin County. As you can see here, rebranded for Vivalon, and the 2021 directory is just coming out right now. And that really, it includes all of our services, but there's an awful lot more of other services, other resources that we include in that directory so that everything is there in one place. And we do refer clients to Legal Aid of Marin, and we can definitely talk about doing that with this team here. And we also have our own volunteer financial advisor who offers specialized kind of advice virtually at the moment. So we love doing that, and more of that would be awesome. So I think, my call out to you is that, help us spread the word. We are here for the older adults who we've served in the past. We can't wait to get our clients back through the doors. But we've attracted, many, many more people that hadn't come to Vivilan in the past because they didn't come physically in person. Well, now we've been able to reach those, and we have capacity to reach many more and would love to do so. So we truly, do want to extend our impact, make more friends, and, just deliver as much as we possibly can for people in the community. So on that note, looking forward to the future and what's next for us. Well, as I said, we do have capacity. We do want to grow our services, particularly in the areas of transportation. So as we talked about, we're constantly looking for new ways in which to provide transportation, much of which is medical in the future, it would seem. Home delivered meals is another area where we truly believe that has such a significant impact on people's lives, both from a nutrition perspective, the wellness check, and the social aspect. It really does play such a big role in helping people live independently at home for longer, and we can do more of that. And then with the move to the Healthy Aging campus, we want to be offering more and more in terms of classes, social opportunities, reasons for people to get together and learn new things and enjoy themselves. In terms of new services, and I think we would say that a lot of our focus in the past has been about bringing people to Vivilan rather than bringing the services to them. So like our home delivered meals work so well in doing that and keeping people independent at home, we want to think about new services that we can take to people in their homes. So maybe more formal wellness checks, maybe in-home assessments and falls prevention training in the home. And, we hope to partner with other community-based organizations to be able to do more of that at scale. In order to do more of these services and really market what you do and be able to attract funding, to be able to do more, outcome measurement is becoming increasingly important. So being able to measure the impact of the holistic services that we provide is becoming a key focus in terms of, you know, how has that improved an individual's overall health? How has it reduced hospitalization or emergency room visits? So we're really focused on that moving forward. And ultimately, we hope to become a provider of more healthcare related services as more and more healthcare plans are increasingly covering those services that address the social determinants of health, i.e. everything that happens outside the four walls of the doctor's office or the hospital. So we're really kind of on that journey to grow the services we have, add new, measure their outcome, and, you know, be in a position to be, you know, a great trusted community provider of healthcare services. So with that, I'll let Anne talk about the future of the Healthy Aging Campus. Over to you, Anne.
I am back. So thank you so much, Joanne. As you can see, we have a beautiful rendering of the Healthy Aging Campus that is going to be really a hub for the community to have all of the essential services and things that Joanne would described and more. We are really fortunate to have a partner with Eden Housing to help us make this a reality, as well as a great relationship and partnership with BioMarin, who helped us acquire this location that we will be building this wonderful, you know, really beacon for the community. And it will be a car-free community. There's going to be very limited parking for the 67 affordable housing units that are there. We want to encourage the people there to utilize the services that we offer and the community local services. So we also provide transportation so they don't need a car, which is just great synergy for everything that you know, we want to be doing with them. A huge component of this is our Healthy Aging Center, which is going to encompass lots of classroom space, a geriatric medical clinic, a physical therapy and workout space, lots of opportunity. Our resource office that Joanne had mentioned before, our cafe will be there. There will be all the things that people love about Vivilan today and more. And really the true vision is that someone can come in for a clinic appointment or get, you know, if they have a routine blood draw or something like that that they have to do, they can come in, have, you know, their medical visit, have a lovely lunch in the cafe, go to a class, meet friends, and then get a ride back home with our Vivalon transportation, so that they're really having a full day of activity and socialization and not just isolating at home. And for the 67 affordable housing units, that will all be Section 8 housing. So very affordable housing for local residents here in Marin. And it will be, traditionally, Eden Housing has told us that there's usually a 500 to 1,000 person waiting list when the units become available. So it will be based on you know, their criteria and greatest need, but it will be Section 8 housing, which is very rare to achieve in our state, and very rare for new projects right now. So we're really hoping that this can be a model for other communities to follow. And so it's very exciting. We are hoping to break ground in November, which seems like a long way off, but it really will be here before we know it. And then hopefully have everything completed within 12 to 16 months. So really hope to be open by January 2023 to welcome our members and guests to the Healthy Aging Campus and fully have our activities up and running in the Healthy Aging Center. So the future looks very bright and vibrant for the residents of Marin County and the people that we serve. And we are still, working on additional community support to bring the center to life. We had a very successful capital campaign to build the structure, and now we're going to be working to bring that truly to life, which is very exciting. So with that, I think we can move to questions really quick. We have about 10 minutes for questions. If anybody has any, we can try to address them.
I actually had a question. How many of your clients would you say have computer access?
I wish I could answer that question. I really do. And the reason I say that is because it is incredibly hard to reach the people who don't have computer access. But let me tell you about that. So of the classes that we run, it has been hard to get people onto Zoom. But I think, like other people have found, those that are reluctant start on the phone and become more comfortable over time as they see others joining. So we've seen an uptick in the use of computers for our classes. Our email newsletter is one of our best way of engaging with people and advertising kind of new classes, etc. So we've got a good, strong contingent on there. And then we are kind of in a process of embarking on check-in calls with our clients again, now that it's been a good long time since we've spoken with people. And that's actually top of the list of questions that we have to ask as we phone, so that we truly understand more about that. Our aim is definitely to get involved in more technology enablement projects, both those that exist today and to create our own where it fills a gap, so that we can help address the needs of older adults and get them more access to technology.
What would the economics look like? Has there been anybody who might be interested in partnering with your organization to provide more affordable access to computers?
We're discovering that there are quite a few organizations and quite a few grants available, both for partnership in delivering that and funding to do that, particularly given that the COVID-19 situation and even now the vaccination situation is showing just how intensely critical, access to online information and services is. So there's a lot of opportunity coming up, and Marin County has also done a lot of great work in standing up services like that and a toolkit through their work. So it is something we are actively progressing right now in terms of establishing partnerships and securing our own funding for programs.
And just to add to that too, because Joanne is exactly right, one of the things that's been so helpful during the pandemic is the collection of phone numbers that we actually have at Vivilan. And we were able to do, I think it was a 15,000 reach robocall to people to let them know if they were having trouble accessing information about vaccines, to reach back out to us. And we were also able to, as Joanne mentioned, really quickly set up a call center to help people without the computer access to call a special phone number through the county that comes to us at Vivalon. And we have trained staff who physically key in their appointment in the computer while they have them on the phone. And then we can also arrange their transportation to and from their vaccine if they have a need for that as well.
That's great.
And the phone number was 1 digit off from my direct line. It still is. And so I was getting quite a few calls, and I just have to tell you, hearing the relief in people's voice when they reached a live person was just so powerful, because they really are at a loss without the resource that we've been able to provide. So the relief of, daughters advocating for their mothers and fathers, and, 82-year-olds calling and saying, I don't have a computer, and, just making sure that we get them handled with care and they get what they need is really part of, our daily work.
May I ask one other question? How many of your clients especially in the last few years, and I suspect it's been exacerbated with COVID. There's clearly an issue of not enough affordable housing here in Marin County. How many of your clients come to you with questions and issues about housing here?
Joanne will have to answer that because I don't know that.
I must admit to not knowing that too. We do partner with Covia on their home match program. So, and that's been a long-standing relationship between the two organizations. But I don't know quantitative data on housing information referrals. I do know that legal and financial are our most requested topics, which is why, you know, we've kind of almost specialized in those areas. But we can definitely, I can definitely dig into the history of that if you're interested.
And we also anecdotally hear that people are being priced out of Marin County and having to move closer to their children or somewhere more affordable. And while that sounds like, well, at least they have a place to go, if you think about leaving the community where you've lived your whole life because you can't afford to be here anymore is heartbreaking. And it's so important for older adults to, you know, retain that sense of community that they've built their whole lives, especially if they're on their own and their network is, you know, the circle that they've built through organizations like Vivilan or through a group of friends or both. And keeping that consistent is really key.
Thank you.
I see a couple of hands up. Susan W., do you have a question? If you unmute, we could, yeah.
There we go. There we go. Yes, I do. Well, first I have a comment. As far as housing goes, there are several nonprofits here in Marin that specialize in that, and then there's Marin Housing and such. So there are a bunch of resources. But anyway, getting back, I'm curious. I would like maybe to hear. By the way, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I would like to just get some ideas on what has changed with your name change. What areas, what would you say is changing? I understand about the building, and that's a big change, but how do you see the change? How do you see the organization changing? So that's, it sounds like you're still going to be offering, for example, legal, you had some attorneys that were available, and you still have the cafe, and you have a whole bunch of classes, and then get-togethers for various groups. But I'm wondering what has changed maybe with the name change, and also where do you see the organization going, headed towards? Anything else?
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. I'm not sure if you were on for the earlier part where I touched on the name change a little bit, but Vivilan's a created word that combines vitality and longevity, and where we're going in our vision for the future is really an integration of all of the services that, as Joanne mentioned, are the social determinants of health that really enable people to live a long, vital life. And so as we move forward, we want to utilize all of the things that Vivilan has long been known for, and you know, really build upon those things and have the Healthy Aging Campus be a model for other locations in Marin County, so that people have easy access. Obviously, we provide the transportation so we can get everybody who needs to be here, but we would like it to be a model that can be replicated in our community and in other communities throughout the state and throughout the country, because having that beacon in the community where people can live with dignity and not have to leave their home and go to, you know, a nursing home or something, and just really have that transition of from the time that they're, you know, involved with us and able to stay in their own home or able to live in the affordable housing until, you know, hopefully they are, you know, transitioned, you know, at the very, very end of their life to hospice. And we can do that handout without really the disruption of having to leave their home and leave their community is part of our vision. And really the integration of medical care. And it's very, the shortage of gerontologists in the country is quite a big issue, and having high quality gerontology care is quite an issue. So this clinic that we'll be having, this medical clinic, is going to be specialized in gerontology. They aren't going to be seeing anyone that's, you know, under a certain threshold age. And so they will get very highly specialized empathetic care in the clinic as well. And that is something that we also hope can be replicated. So it's very much something that we hope can be modeled. And our vision is really to create opportunities for people to have the services they need to remain in their community.
I have an associated question with that, and that is that as people get older, certain things start to occur. So, for example, maybe they're thinking, maybe people aren't thinking as well, and that seems to be pretty common as you get older. Are you? I just want to mention that there are a lot of ethical kinds of considerations. And also, I want to bring one other thing up, and it really doesn't, I'm not meaning to make it a topic of conversation, but I just kind of have a comment. And that is, we have some other big populations here in Marin that don't seem to participate. And I just want to throw that out. And I'm just sort of repeating myself. I'm not intending it to be a conversation. We have a large Latin population. We also have a large Black population, and they don't seem to participate with Vivalon, at least not that I've seen. I'm just throwing it out. And then also, as people get older, when they start having, maybe some population has some cognitive things happening. I very much hope that, well, first of all, I'm hoping that that's not part of Vivalon, that aspect of attending to something like that, because there are a lot of, I want to say, ethical, very sensitive and ethical issues that then start to open up. I'm talking about professional fiduciaries and so on and so on. I hope you're not going that route.
We are not going that route. I come from the Alzheimer's Association, so I know very much what you're addressing here, and we will provide resources for people to make their own choices, and part of what our goal is to educate people early on so that they have the ability to make decisions while they're cognitively able and not when they're in steep decline and can be taken advantage of. To put those protections in place for themselves early is part of our curriculum and very important. And one of the things coming out of COVID that Vivilan did extremely well was, we looked at people who were vulnerable in light of the pandemic and pushed out our services to areas like the Canal and Marin City and others that I might not even be aware of yet, but really looking at how we can push our services out to communities on the front line who also can benefit from what we do. Not everybody's a joiner or comfortable coming to a location. A lot of people are to themselves, but still need that connection and help. So I'm going to move to Bill because we're out of time, but he's had his hand up so long that I don't want to leave him out.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple of things here. First of all, Joanne, for your information, a few years ago, there was maybe as much as 2 years ago, there was a state-sponsored study here about the internet needs for seniors. They spent $2 or $3 million to survey the counties in California. I think 16 counties participated. there was a lot of lackings in that presentation I was there for. I saw no Latinos there. I saw no Blacks participating in it at all. So you might want to look at that with a jaundiced eye to an extent and see what they came up with.
Thank you.
It was held at the Wellness Center at out at Kerner and Belgium. And if I can remember back to the name of what it was, but anybody in the supervisor's office should be able to wire you into that. The gerontologist, what's our magic age going to be?
I'm sorry?
What's our magic age going to be for gerontologists? I guess on the age chart you had there?
Well, middle-aged.
Beyond middle-aged,
and
come
young
on.
people. We're working with a community partner to enter into an agreement for the clinic right now. And Joanne, you may have more information on kind of the target age, but I think it's 60 and older, but I might be mistaken.
No, it's got to be older. It's got to be older.
It just depends on their, what their needs are.
Okay, because I'm running a community clinic with here not long ago, and they said they were not going to get into that. I'm
sorry?
The Marin Community Clinic was just made a presentation here a few turns ago, and I was asking them about that, and they were not going to get into the gerontologist realm from what I understood. Maybe
that's not our understanding.
Really? Okay,
yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because that was my understanding when they were here.
Yeah.
Is it going to be parking at your building?
There'll be limited parking, and then there's going to be additional parking built as the BioMarin campus is constructed as well. So our goal is to have our transportation bring people in for the most part.
Okay, last thing, a little tough love here. I hate to say this, but your name, I haven't heard anybody respond positively to that name, and that they respond the other way. They don't care for it. I'm just feedback on what I'm giving you without even being asked. They hear about your organization. It's their first comment off the top of their head, even when there's no subject in play. So good luck with that moving forward. And thanks for your presentation.
Change is hard. I understand. It's the easiest for me because I came in when it was Vivilan. So I don't have that attachment and history to Whistle Stop, the organization, and just gone through a rebranding. And I think of it in the positive sense of really looking forward to how we can create a vital, long life for the people in our community is a very positive thing. And Whistle Stop is a name that doesn't really describe that to the community. And so hopefully we can get over that hurdle at some point, but I know change is very, very hard. And so I'm the one that has it easy because I was never part of Whistle Stop. I've only been part of Vivalon. So it's a tough change for a lot of folks, I understand.
I think we have one more question or comment from Lori.
Okay.
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'm very interested in finding out about the legal services that you offer so that I know who I can refer to you from for your services. You used to offer every Thursday at the San Rafael campus legal consultations for people 60 plus. And my understanding was that it focused on a lot of focus on estate planning, probate, that type of thing.
Yep.
So could you just update me on what the current services are?
Yes, we are referring directly to Legal Aid of Marin. So we facilitate that referral and introduce the client to our contacts at Legal Aid of Marin. And we've done that during the pandemic as we haven't been able to host our own legal services there on site.
So if somebody comes into the law library and they, I say, well, hey, you could get I think it's a 30-minute consultation through Vivalon. Do I send them to you or do I send them directly to Legal Aid?
Are you saying,
So if somebody comes in and, we've got a lawyers in the library program, or somebody comes to the lawyers in the library program, or they call me up and they ask me about it. And I say, well, there's also this other program where you can get a 30-minute consultation and the attorneys really focus on estate planning and probate or these areas that you are wanting information about.
Yeah,
would I give that person your number or Legal Aid's number?
Yeah, ideally you would give them our number because while we can connect them with the legal services, we find that there's quite often other services that we can tell them about, refer them to, etc., rather than it just being that one thing. So those might be Vivalon services, or there might be other resources that we can connect them with outside of that specific legal request. So we'd love to hear from anyone who needs advice like that.
Okay. And then your directory, I'm wondering, is that available from your website? Is there a link on your website for that directory?
There will be a link on the website to the physical, well, it'll be a soft copy of the physical hard copy directory. Until now, the directory has been most successful when placed around the community, you know, in the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of copies in community centers, you know, housing everywhere around the community. So it's very much been a fairly well-referenced hard copy thing that has always been available on the website on soft copy and will be posted soon. It's just printing now.
All right, so we're hoping to open up by the end of March, and I would love to get some of those hard copies when they're available.
Wonderful, thank you, yes. Wonderful.
May I also bring up one last thing? I know we're running a little bit over, but everything that you talk about tonight so warmly brings to mind your most valuable assets, and those are your volunteers. May I ask you to give a brief comment about how an interested party could go about volunteering, what kind of commitment they might make, and it all sounds pretty darn wonderful. I just wanted to get that in.
That's amazing, and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm gonna let Joanne cover this, but our website has a wealth of information for people who want to take time to learn about that. But we have so many opportunities that are very flexible. So I'm gonna let Joanne take it from there.
Yeah, I can say, you know, we have volunteer opportunities in so many different programs and services. And, you know, we have ways of making it work for anyone, no matter what their time commitment might be, whether it's having a regular weekly shift on Meals on Wheels, or just doing one ride a month on Carepool, or teaching a class, or when we hopefully reopen in coming months, you know, helping host lunch at the cafe. So volunteer@vivalon.org is the email address. And as Anne said, there's plenty of information on the website. And that's one thing we can't wait about reopening. It's really to get, you know, our volunteers through the door of the Healthy Aging Centre, as well as our kind of members and other people in the community.
And I did see a question pop up as far as, is there an age requirement to get Vivalon services? And the answer is no. And anyone in the community can come in and learn on how to be prepared for helping their parents or an older neighbor or themselves planning for the future. We're here for the whole community. And so I think we need to wrap it up. My phone's on fire, so I have to.
I want to thank both of you. I would like you not to be strangers, and I would like the opportunity to call on your expertise and your absolute passion for what you do to join us again in the future.
We would love that. Thank you for having us, and thank you for all your great questions, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.